We're now on Daf Chavtes, almost Omid Beis. We just have to read the name here. Agra Chamud Rabbi Abba. Again, a strange name, Agra. He's the father-in-law of Rabbi Abba, and he had trouble with his tefillin. Ifsikole kare dehe. Then there's a pasuk in Tehillim, in the tefillin, which has the word ha'am in it, and the first letter of that word ha'am is a hey, obviously, and the leg of the hey of the word ha'am was ifsike binikva, which means it was split with a hole in it. Of Abba, do I have to throw out my tefillin? Amalei, his shver told him, Im mishtayir bo kishir os ktana kosher im lav pos. So the right leg of the hay was, shall we say, almost cut off. It was split, and there was a hole in the right leg. What's left of the right leg? Do you still have the size of a yud? Then it's kosher. If not, it's possible. And once again, there's going to be a long discussion here as to whether or not you could fix such tefillin. Anyway, another case, Rami. Okay, Rami is a name that's pretty common in the Talmud. Bar Tamre, Dehu Chamua. He's the father of Rami Bar Dikule. It's interesting that the son-in-law and the father-in-law had the same name, Rami. I don't know. Anyway, if Sika le kara devav divayarog benikva. Now, watch what happens. The word vayarog is very tricky because if the vav is clear, then you read it as vayarog, and he killed. And this is referring to God. Now, if Ifsika kara de vav, if the leg of the vav is cut off, then it looks like a yud. And then it becomes veyehareg, and he was killed, referring to God. That's not a good idea. Also, the comment of Zera Amalei Zil Isi Yanuka de Lachachim Veloti. This is very, very famous. We bring a child. Question is what the age of the child is, but he's not too smart, because if he's too smart, he'll understand that we can't read it as Veyehareg, as a Yud, so he's going to tell you, oh yeah, it's a Vav, Vayarog, because he understands that God killed and God wasn't killed, right? Below T-page, because if he's too dull, he doesn't even realize what you're asking him. He has no clue that you're trying to identify whether the Vav still looks like a Vav, or now it's cut off and it looks like a Yud. If this average young boy who's not too smart, not too dumb, he identifies it as a vav of vayarog de kosher. Ilo yeharg vu pasuk. And again, we have to know two things here. Number one, lahalach lamaisa, under what circumstances do we rely on this katan and this yanuka? And number two, if in fact it's possible, can we be machshir? This is a very famous Agadata about, I think in fancy English it's called theodicy, if you know that word. Anyway, Moshe Rabbeinu finds Hashem that he's adding crowns to the letters of the Torah. Moshe says to Ribbon Shalom, Mima akev al yodcha. Why do you have to add all these tagim, these crowns to the Torah? Why don't you just give us the Torah? You're the one who decides whether or not it has to have tagim or not. Why did you decide you have to add tagim? Generations down the line, Akiva ben Yosef is going to come along. Coats for coats. He's going to stand in front of his students, and he's going to darshan and derive conclusions, both philosophical and halachic conclusions, tili tilim shalachas, heaps and bounds of halachas from each one of these tilim. Each one of these crowns has deeper meaning. And there's no end to the Torah. I know someone who published a book of 400 pages on 5 words in the Torah. There's no end to the Torah. It's just endless. The Tagim, the crowns, have myriads of interpretations and meanings, but only someone as great as Akiva ben Yosef could discover, reveal, and teach those teachings. I want to see this man. Moshe Rabbeinu asks Hashem, could I get a glimpse of this man? There's a class going on right behind you. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, Akiva's giving a class. He sits in the back, the 8th row. He couldn't know what they were talking about. The Torah was so complex and so mystical that it was beyond his comprehension. Toshash kocho. He had chalish sadas. Kevan shigil dover echad. Once the students raised the question to the Rebbe Akiva, and they said, Amrulo, minayin lecha, how do you know this? Amaleh, and he says, Halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Misyashva daito, calms himself down. You have a man like this, I'm going to give the Torah. Said, Shtok. There's a limit to human comprehension. Chazal say that Moshe Rabbeinu got up to the 50th shar of Bina, but he couldn't get the 50th. And therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu, you'll never understand why you were chosen and not Akiva ben Yosef to give the Torah. Ribbona Shalolem, Harisani Toraso, Hareni Scharo. You've shown me his Torah. I sat in his class. Now show me his end. Amalo Hashem says to him, Chazal Yachorecha, turn around and look behind you. Chazal Achorov, the Rosh, Shoklim Besoro. I'm going to start crying. Rosh Shoklim Besoro Makolin Shel Barzel. They are scraping off the flesh of his skin as if he were a piece of meat, and they sold the skin and the limbs of Akiva ben Yosef in the market. Amalefanov. Moshe is not going to take this sitting down silently. Ribbon Shalom Zu Torah V'Zu Schora. This is the reward for Torah. Amalosh Sok Kach Olam Achshav Lefanai. This is the 50th shar of Bina. This is beyond human comprehension. You'll never, ever be able to understand. And if you try to enter into the 50th shar, you'll go crazy. You'll completely lose yourself. Like the Gemara about Abbas Nichnasu Lepardes. Amar Rava. Okay, now I can come down a little. Shiva Osios Trichos Shlosha Ziyunim. There's 7 famous letters of the 22 letters of the Torah, which are called Shatnez Gates, Ve'eluhem, and they each need 3 crowns. 3 crowns. Okay, so that's the Shin Ayin Tes Nun Zayin Gimel Tzadi. Omer Ravashi. Chazina lehu lesafrei div vakne dibeirav. I saw the Sifrei Torah that were written by the very exceptional and meticulous scribes of Rav. De chatre le legabe de ches. They put again. I'm going to quote to Rabbeinu Tam here against Rashi, but they put a cane, which means something that comes like a triangle, upside down triangle, on the roof of the ches. I have a picture of it here. Rashi says it was on the left side on the top. Anyway, v'tolule lekari de hay. They suspended the left leg of a hay so that it didn't touch the roof. So that's the left leg of the hay, didn't go up to the top. Chotri lehu legagi deches, klomar. What's the deeper meaning of the fact that they added this cane to the top of the ches? Klomar Chayu berumo shalom. The letter Chet stands for Chai. Chai means the Almighty. The Almighty lives. All life is God. V'tolei lekari dehe. Why did the leg of the hay have to be suspended in midair, so to speak? Question that was asked. What does it mean? Bitchuv Hashem adead ki be yud ke Hashem tzur olamim. God is the strength of the worlds, and therefore the Hashem is the hay. So first, let's try to understand this passage. Trust in Hashem forever, for in God is the strength of the worlds. Right? Be Yud Ke Vav Yud Ke. Amalei. Try to figure out this pasuk. Rav Ami says, "Kol atola b'tchon v'kodesh baruch hu harelo machzeh ba'olam hazeh u'olam haba." God will become a shelter to protect him in this world and in the world to come. So that's called Bitchu Hashem, the trust in Hashem. And God is the tzur, he's the protector, the solid rock for both this world and the next world, meaning the Yud K, which makes up the name of God, refers to two worlds, this world and the next world. Omalei, Ano hochika kashale, maishno dichsiv biya v'loksiv ya. Right? Why doesn't it just say the name of God? What's bi? Right? In God. And the answer is, Kididar Shav Yudavari Loi, Elu Shnei Olamos, Shebara Kodesh Baruch Hu, God created with the name Yud K, two worlds. One of those two worlds, either this one or the next one, was created with a Hey, and the other one, either this one or the next one, was created with a Yud. The Eini Yodeh, but I never figured it out. Im Olam Haba b'Yud v'Olam Hazeh b'Hei, Im Olam Hazeh b'Yud v'Olam Haba b'Hei. Which word was used for this world to create this world? Which for the next? Which letter? I mean, Kshu Omer, when it says Eila told us Hashmai Bar, it's Bihi Bar The extra Hey Bihi Bar I'll take a Bihi Bar Ella Bi Hey Bar The Hey means he created it with this letter Hey. Heavy Omer Ha'olam Hazeh beHei. And by possible nation, if God created this world with a Hey, then he created the next world with a Yud. What's so unique about the Hey that God wanted to create this world with a Hey? And this has to do with what we call Bechirach of Shit, freedom of choice. God gave man the freedom of choice, and therefore the Hey is open like a pavilion, that you could just go out to the pavilion, and the Hay is, if you go underneath the Hay, you could come into the Hay from below, you could leave the Hay from above. If he wants to leave the Torah and be Poresh and go off the derech, he has a way of getting out. He's not locked in. He has freedom of choice. And why is the leg of the hay floating in midair? Because if he went out this way, because he left the Torah, he could come in around on top of the leg of the hay and re-enter into God's world, into God's hay. Why can't he just go back in the same way he went out? Why do you have to create a second entranceway around the side to let him get back and do tshuva? Let him go out from that way and come back that way. I think it's a pasuk in Tilim. No, pasuk in Mishlei, sorry. And it means that if to cynics he will act cynically, to the humble he will grant favor. It's very hard to defeat the Yetzer Hara, especially after he defeated you and you went out and you're used to that way, because if you try to do tshuva, the Yetzer Hara is going to say, oh, but didn't you enjoy it? You know, He remembers the pleasures that he enjoyed while he was not in the right path. Very difficult to retrace his steps, but Hashem is going to provide for him Misayelo if he has the right kavanah and he wants to tshuva. God will help him to come in from the other side. Well, my time at Islay Tage. Why does the hay have a tag? God promises you that if you do tshuva, then you will get a keser. It's interesting because before he did tshuva, it seems like he didn't have the keser. Maybe sin pays, because then you do tshuva and you get a hay. But Chazal say if you do an aver al manas with a condition that you'll do tshuva, then you won't be able to do tshuva. Anyway, okay, you justify the creation of this world with the hay. What about the yud? Because yud is the smallest letter, and when you come to Olam Haba, you look around for the tzaddikim in the world to come, there aren't too many there. And we look at our world today, I don't have to tell you. Why is the yud have that piece on top, which according to the Rosh is the Kotz Shel Yud that's bent down? Because of Anova, anything that's bent down always symbolizes humility. What brings the tzaddikim to this state of humility? I mean, you would think if the tzaddikim already made it to Olam Haba, they could give themselves a pat on the back. And they must say, they look at others who have basically had the same potential as they had, the same capacity for good, and look how great they are. They're all the way up there in Olam Haba. They're in the heart, they're in the front row. Rav Yosef, Hani Tarte Mili, Rav Bisfarim. No, it's regarding Sifrei Torah. We got two halachas from Rav, Vitanya Tiyufta, but yet we have a price against Rav. Chada, one thing we heard from Rav, Diyama Rav, Sefer Torah Sheish Bo Shtei Toyos Bechol Daf V'Daf. If on each daf, each column of the Sefer Torah, there are more than two osios. I'm sorry, if there are two mistakes, two toyos, then you're talking. But shalosh, once there are three mistakes in one column, is then you got to put away the Sefer Torah. Can't fix it. It's a lost Sefer Torah. It's like muchzak b'toloim, if you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, v'tanya tiyuvta, but yet I have a price that says fakert, shalosh yitakin, arba yigones, that if it has three mistakes on one column, you can fix it. Tana, and we have a price that says in Yeshbo Daf Acha Shlema, even if the Sefer Torah is full of mistakes, and even if there are four mistakes on each column, but there's one column that is Shlema, that has no mistakes, is Matzeles Al Kulo, it will allow you to fix the entire Sefer Torah. Oh, not so simple. Rube de Safra Shapir. It means that although there are so many mistakes in the Sefer Torah, but most of the Sefer Torah is written properly, then one column could save the entire Sefer Torah. Let's just see what time it is. Okay, we still have 2 minutes officially, so I'll read to you a very complicated note here, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay. Most of each column was written properly. And that, says Rashi, means, it's very strange, Rashi says there are no more than 5 or 6 mistakes in a column. So again, there are 4 mistakes in a column, up to 5, maybe even 6 in one column. And normally we would say you can't fix such a Sefer Torah because each column has 4, 5, 6 mistakes. But if it doesn't have more than 6 mistakes in any particular column, and there's one column that's shlema, that's complete and perfect, that will save it all. And now you can fix the entire Sefer Torah. So Rabbi Yitzchak is teaching us 2 things in the name of Ra. Number 1, a complete column saves the entire Sefer Torah, even though all the columns, besides that one, have 4, 5, or 6 mistakes. He's also teaching that the complete column cannot serve a scroll with countless mistakes. So in other words, if it has more than 5 or 6, I don't know why Rashi says 5 or 6, then even though he has one perfect column, it can't save the Sefer Torah. Okay, Rabos, I think we'll have to stop here, even though I wanted to get to the end of the Omen, but Nishkeferlach, it'll give us a nice start for tomorrow. And tomorrow we meet at 9:30. Is that correct? Okay, then. So we're going to have sugyas coming up, which are, deal with tefillin and tzitzis, mezuzahs, a lot of nice, interesting things. A change of pace from menachos. Okay, then. Have a great day.